Hans Johnson here with Dani Johnson, Micah Johnson, and Roman Johnson.
And Rachel Johnson.
And Rachel
Behind
Johnson
the
behind the camera.
Hi, Rachel.
This is
What we call conversation.
Okay. So
we're having a family conversation right now. We're going to discuss
Conversation.
conversation.
About.
Okay, so
All right, go ahead.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead and lead it.
oh my god. No, we were just having a family conversation outside, and we felt like it would be a really good idea to just like turn the camera on, be here, and just have the same conversation because it's like a super rich conversation. And so anyway, we'll start with Micah.
We're 4 or 5 days in. We moved in this weekend. We're
No,
still
hold on.
moving.
We have moved a
Transitioning.
few things in. We're still not moved in.
Getting set up in this new crib villa. And
Look at your arm.
dude, you didn't hear?
No.
I gave the wall the tequila test.
That's good. The tequila test.
No, I'm just kidding.
It was not tequila.
No, but that is called the tequila test.
Oh, really?
Are you kidding me? If anybody else is gonna do that, they're gonna be on tequila.
But he wasn't.
Right, but he did the tequila.
But at
test.
11:30 on tequila.
You don't.
I rolled down the wall,
Yeah.
the back wall.
11:30 last night.
The
He was
tequila
test. Wait, what?
scraping the pool
I
at
was
11:30
out
last
there that
night.
night and I stepped where there wasn't anything and I fell.
You-
And then I rolled and went down. And I was laughing because I couldn't believe I actually, like the first day I was like, oh, that sucked. And then I kept going. I was like, oh.
That's how most bails happen as you get older. You just laugh. And for me, like I laugh because I'm like humiliated. Like I'm humiliated myself because I'm like, I can't believe I lost my head.
And then I got up.
I kept going. I was like, oh.
Yeah, I learned about that. The one, fortunately,
It
the,
was bad.
Oh my
the
god.
platform's down there. So otherwise I would have kept going.
That's awesome.
Anyway, so Micah,
So-
you want to go first?
Well, I just want to say, the other day I farted in my wallet and then I had gas money.
Let's try that someday.
It's good to use that.
Okay, so now. So Micah, we were asking you like how has it been? You know, when we did the
Well, we
walkthrough
started
last
walking
Friday.
through because we
right?
were going to start like moving in and such. And I mean, this house has always made me uncomfortable to live in.
Like we haven't lived in it
And
yet, but
we haven't lived in it, but just the thought
The
of it.
thought of it.
And I know that from the start you were uncomfortable with it.
Yeah.
And I know understand your reasons why you're uncomfortable, why you were uncomfortable, and then you started like acclimating to it. You started understanding dad's motivation, dad's desire behind it for you, and
it's crazy.
kind of, if I may put your ego aside and just accepted what you know dad had designed. And but first of all, I will never say that this is my house. This is my parents' house that I'm a guest in. This is your guys' place, and I'm extremely grateful and extremely honored that you guys put a room designed for me to be there and that I'm welcome here. But like the house that we came from, like that was our house, like that was our family house, like we grew up there. That was from when we moved to Texas, that was the house that we like planted our roots in, and we lived in there for like 7 years.
8.
8.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we lived in Spanish Drive.
So 9 years.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, so something I'd always really appreciated is that you guys never displayed your wealth when we were really, really young. You guys never like luxuried out like crazy, and you guys decide to raise us in simple and adequate living conditions with just a slight bit of blessing, you know, like trips to Bora Bora
That's huge.
And
Yeah, the travel.
the travel,
That's where we
the
put
travel
money
was a
into,
blessing, but our
which
daily
was a
life
family
wasn't.
time and an
Yeah.
educational.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's where most wealthy families go wrong, is when they make their daily life, especially if they've got kids that they're raising, and their daily life is surrounded by just
Handouts.
handouts and just insane overabundance of luxury and just insanely like unnecessary privilege, especially too much for a kid to be raised in. So as we were like looking around, and I guess it was like the first day that we were like gonna start moving in and stuff like that, and I just
You were heading up the
I
stairs.
was heading up the stairs following you guys, and I just like, first I just muttered it to myself, and then you guys were like, wait, what did you say? And I was like, you know, I've always liked not feeling like a rich kid, and this house completely changes that.
What did I say?
And you were like, yeah, you can say goodbye to that.
Yeah.
So what does that mean though, that you...
Well, because I always, for instance, I remember I was with Sam a couple years ago at the San Diego First Steps San Diego event, and the day before the event, we went to the beach, and we met this couple there, and they were asking us why we were in San Diego, and so me, I'm like kind of more reserved about it. I'm not gonna like, oh yeah, my mom's a millionaire and she likes to speak and stuff like that. So I was like, yeah, we're here for a business training seminar, and he kept asking more questions, and then eventually told him it was my mom, and then, my parents are really wealthy and they have a heart to teach other people, how to get to where they're at. And so the first thing out of his mouth after I explained it to him, he's like, man, you do not seem like a rich kid at all. I was like, yes.
The lifetime goal. It does not seem like every other stereotypical entitled brat of
Absolutely.
a rich kid.
Yeah.
I feel like we've accomplished that pretty well.
But are they even necessarily rich, or is it that their parents have like...
No, the kids themselves are not
been in
really.
ton-
The
no,
kids,
but the parents are in tons of debt to make it look like they're a
That's the
rich
difference.
family.
That's the
and
difference
are they
between
really?
wealth and rich.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
So
they're
they're
rich,
rich, but maybe not.
they're definitely rich. They have a lot of stuff.
Definitely rich.
Definitely rich.
But
Okay, so you had said like...
so he was like, man, you do not seem like a rich kid like at all. And I was like deep down inside, I was like, praise God.
And why? Because you guys have encountered, when we moved to
yeah.
Texas, like there's a lot of money here.
There's a lot of money
and
here.
you went
I
to
would say that
private
there were-
school for a minute and it was like...
Full of rich kids, full of entitled kids who don't appreciate like even a ride to school or like whatever. Like it's just like, oh my god, like and how like you don't want to be the entitled rich kid.
I would say
I didn't want to be because that came with this like pompous, I'm better than you because my parents pay for everything. And that's how I see it. That's how I see it. It's just
So
like,
true.
I'm better than the kids that go to that private school because my parents bought me a new car. And I'm better than everybody else because my parents paid for my education for me to become better than everybody else so that I can do the same thing for my kids and give them everything that I was
And in our
and
minds,
more.
we're just like, man, I feel so bad.
We're just, right, well, and even like, and what I was saying earlier, there's something special about working a job or whatever career and getting paid and buying a candy bar with that. And holding that candy bar and eating it and being like, man, like I'm getting fulfillment from this because I worked for this and that's important.
Yeah.
Whereas to like, my parents didn't buy me a candy bar and that's unacceptable. Like, and that whereas to like kids where it's like, well, so-and-so got a new car. It's like, cool, why don't you pay for your own car? Like other kids would probably throw a fit over stuff like that. But for us, it was expected. Or at least I put that expectation on myself, even with my car and whatnot. I was like, I need to get money to buy this car because I'm going to buy the car. And later, I mean, there was blessings along the way with that, but it's just that I can't stand rich kids. No, the entitlements. It's like it puts a like. It's almost as if like a societal shielding or something where it's like, why would I talk to you about values if you can't value something simple like money? Like, it's just, there's nothing, there's no like a dollar bill doesn't mean much. It's like a dollar bill means a lot, especially to somebody who doesn't have a dollar bill or had to work really hard for a dollar bill. But when you're handed a dollar bill, it's just handouts. Handouts don't produce really anything. Like, I recently bought this computer. If that computer was just given to me, I wouldn't be able to look at that every day and be like, I built that. That is literally fruit from my loin, and I get to see it. And it looks pretty, and I get to see it and just be like, I get to appreciate it in a way where I know that I am the one who, I guess, did that. And that's kind of, there's ego in that, of course, but it's just, there's something special about that, like I was saying, like, people are robbed from that, and they don't even realize the enjoyment of fulfillment of being able to enjoy things that you worked for.
Yeah.
And that's.
And you were the kid that, like, at 12 years old, you would not let us buy you shoes. Like, it's time for shoes. Your shoes are falling off your feet. It's time to go get shoes. You're like, no, Mom, I'm buying my own shoes. Like, but Roman, Mom, I work, I make money, I'm gonna buy my own shoes. Like, but at least let me give you the shoe budget from the family. I mean, it's our job. You are 12. We are supposed to provide for you. You're like, no, thank you.
Right. Whereas I saw it as you buy me shoes, they're your shoes. And so I always saw whoever has the receipt is the person who owns the product. So I wanted to own my own shoes. Right? And
At 12 years old.
Right. Well, and it's just, and then it goes back to the thing where, like, and Michael was saying, where, like, we would go to the skate park, and I think it was ultimately, I think you had driven up in your Mercedes. Yeah. Well, like, you had driven up in your Mercedes or something, and everybody was like, oh, that's a nice car, and they were like, that's your mom, and they were like, oh, your parents are rich, a bunch of rich kids. And we look at them and be like, no, we're not.
I didn't buy that.
Yeah, like, we're not rich. Our parents, they know how to make some money. Like, and that you can see what happens when my parents know how to make money. Like, they're able to enjoy things like this house and I was saying, like, you know, the motorcycle, the cars, like all this cool stuff that's a blessing. And that's just like, I don't own what I try not to own what I don't work for. And so how can I have ownership even in, like, my clothing if I didn't work for it? And I can't have ownership in things that I didn't produce, right? It's kind of like a kid. Like, if I didn't come from your nutsack, then where would I be your kid? There's ownership in that makes me your son and you my father. And same with Mom. Like, if you didn't push me out, then
I was like, what is he gonna say?
if I didn't go swimming and find the egg and I get pushed out, then I would be that they're like fundamentals that come with ownership. And there's something special about, like, owning something, and some people I don't think understand that. Some people,
it's because
like,
they're not taught it.
they're
not taught it.
And it's kind of like you're only responsible for what you know. If I lived my whole life really never owning anything because everything was paid for by somebody else or everything was given to me, I don't really fully and in my opinion, and this is of course very subjective, I don't understand the concept of ownership because I've never had to own something. I've never had officially. Like, there's things that I can be responsible for, but that doesn't mean I owned it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway, you were saying, because when you were talking about earlier about, like, that people, thank you, honey, that people, you know, they would say, you know, oh, you're a rich kid. And you're like, no, my parents know how to make money. My parents have created wealth. They've done a good job. My parents did that, but I'm not rich. I'm making $8 an hour just like, you know, you are. But you were saying earlier about, like, watching this whole process, and that what Michael was saying, I'm so glad that you didn't raise us to be rich kids. I'm glad that you didn't raise us in fancy houses or any of that stuff. Because
when a kid is
driving
raised in
in
an environment,
exactly,
yeah,
and
that's all that they know.
But you watched we were super frugal your whole life. 18 years ago, it's been 18 years. 2000 is when we, like, this is it. Like, who is this all for? That other house that we were in. That's when we paid off all of our consumer debt, all that stuff. So you have been raised in a frugal lifestyle.
Well, okay, so
You were saying you loved. Go ahead.
So seeing what was, I think, a big advantage to that, and, like, I guess it's hard to, like, word it in the right way where it's like, I'm not rich, my parents are rich. I am rich. I am rich with an education. I'm rich with the knowledge that I've been given through you guys, and also just life experiences. And part of that riches of experiences, I just, like, rich is so, it's put in its own area where it's like it can cover that area. But I mean, it's also wealth too, because I see wealth more as, like, the intangibles of what not only money can bring, but what you bring to the world in a way, kind of. But the intangibles and seeing, okay, well, I'll go back to the point. It was cool seeing you guys basically work for things. And yes, we lived in the frugal lifestyle, and we still had nice things. We had enough nice things to know that we weren't struggling, which is nice to know that your family is doing well, that you're not like worried about an economic collapse of like, oh man, like anything can happen. Yeah, not worried about being evicted. I've never had to experience that, and that's riches in itself. Like where it's like next year we might not be able to pay for rent, so we need to be. I can't be settled. So like, whereas to knowing I can be, we lived comfortably but frugally, and it's like, I guess it's a whole like, oh, frugal isn't comfort. Like comfort's what you make it, so it doesn't really matter if you consider frugality not comfort. But I think we lived really comfortably. But basically throughout, I think it's really probably been like the past 5 years or so, or maybe less than that. No, it's probably that, because that's when I started like getting a job and going to work and producing and saving and then moving out and figuring out how does that work in my life. Like that's a totally different ballgame. And then seeing like my past 5 years and seeing your past 5 years of like, okay, I know everybody has to go through this thing where they move out, they get a new job, they got to figure out how to work, they got to figure out how to survive, they need to do what they need to do. But then also seeing like, if I can master this and if I can do what my parents did, the blessings that come with that, where there's this illusion where when you live in a house like this, for example, where your next house should be similar, and I should be making 250 grand right off the bat or something of that nature that allows me to keep up with the lifestyle I've been raised in that has become a norm for me. And so, but that's knowing like, because like my first house living alone was pretty rough. Like it was a tiny cabin dump that I still loved, but like
it was yours.
Like learning, that was one thing. Yeah. But like even learning, okay, like, and I maybe it was trashy between now.
Mind you that you had a beautiful 1,000 square foot house that you were renting out to someone else that you owned.
Right.
But you refused to live in that house that you owned. You rented this literal.
Right. Dumb. No, it was a beautiful. It's still my favorite. It's still my favorite.
It was missing a roof in the bathroom.
Just the bathroom. The rest of it was fine.
Mostly fine. There was 4 skylights that all leaked.
It was a sweet pad.
Between the door and the wall, the front door and the wall, you could see outside because there was no
the house that they spent in
weatherproofing.
Twain Hart had that all over it. We had holes in the log cabin where you could just like this, holes this big. Freezing cold air coming in.
I used
big old fire.
In the wintertime, I had a space heater. That was my only heater in that house. And before I used to go to bed, I used to get ready for bed, and probably about 10 or 15 minutes before bed, I used to grab that space heater and run it along my bed so that it wouldn't be freezing when I got it. And so I'd do that, and then I would put the space heater on my nightstand so it would actually be blowing on me, and then that would be on, and I'm like, dude, what if this thing falls over and catches everything on fire? I'm like, at least I'll be warm if that happens. So, but yeah, so like.
Could you scoot closer to Micah?
So, but anyway, living in that and understanding like this is where I'm at, and then seeing like my parents are like, I think it started like dad bought a kick-ass truck, and then dad bought a kick-ass. Well, actually, I think it probably started with the house, like getting the plans for the house and whatnot, and then it was this awesome truck, and it's these cool things where like people see as like, so I guess it's like. The people who don't like appreciate or don't ever think they can achieve anything like that dog it as materialistic, as opposed to like appreciating a blessing for something that you've had to work for a really long time.
And paid cash for.
And paid cash for is a huge thing where like, and that goes to the thing where it's like I think that probably could be like the Roman's version of society's problem is that the kids that are my age that have been given everything, it's the whole thing of like, what do you actually own? I own what I pay for and what I own, and that's one of those things where it's like, if I live in a lifestyle of debt, I live in a life of not owning anything. So now I have like you own a truck that's kick ass, dude, and you know it, and you own it, and that's sick.
But
so
when
it's
you
like,
drive before?
Like used out for
10 years.
Yeah, and it was sick. That thing was still sick. Like I know the thing. I still thought that was cool, and I'm glad that I knew. Like as a kid, that's
hard for me to let go of that.
That was the truck I
It really was.
it's an amazing truck,
Mike was
but
driving it down,
like
it's
everybody in the world
crashed.
now, because of like the debt economy, it means nobody owns anything, and people are so used to just like not owning anything, except for the pair of shoes that they bought that they didn't go into debt for, but maybe they put it on a credit card and then they don't actually own it anyway. So, but people don't. I think because they never lived in a lifestyle where they were required to own things. Where, like, when we were kids, it's like, I want a skateboard. And it's like, cool, how are you going to pay for it? And it's like, why do you think I'm talking to you?
How's it feel
Like,
you want?
right, how does it feel you want? And it's like, it feels great. I'm going to go do something about that and get a job. Like, okay? And that's...
That was my standard
And
reply. How's it feel to want?
It was great because we learned what it was. We were able to experience the taste of owning something and that fulfillment of owning something. And whereas to, like, if we didn't, then I would have gone out of high school or whatever, gotten a job, probably gone to college and gotten that debt to where I don't even own the education that I got because I got debt for it. And so it's
Because
right, but for people, I think it doesn't bother them because they've never had the sweet taste of owning something. They've never had the actual enjoyment of owning something. Whereas to
Or the,
I know
or the fulfillment of freedom of
working
not being owned
Owned.
by
totally
someone.
right, and that's it. Like the whole thing with the shoes is like. It's not that you guys are trying to keep me in bondage or that.
Yeah.
It's just like no, like that's what it is. It's like these shoes aren't owned by somebody else. I'm walking in shoes that I own, and that's something cool, right? And like
You worked for it, you earned it.
and that's right. And there's something about that. I put the wear and tear into it, and then I
Productive,
buy
yeah.
new ones, and that's shoes. And so, but
So
it's,
you've been watching, like, your parents live super frugal,
mhm.
raised you guys, like, super responsibly, and now you've watched
But I've watched it now.
get this house.
Right,
So what does that say to you?
It says that basically, if I want to follow principles that work, which is a lot of principles that you guys both teach, super effectively, that if you follow those, which is your guys' life is, you guys have been following those for years, that you're able to get the things that everybody wants, and so a lot of people have, because there's a lot of people for Raptors. I don't know how many paid cash for them, but the thing is, or the Ducati, like the thing is, like I want things like that one day, but I don't just want them to have them and drive them and use them, and I want to own those things one day. And then and now seeing, okay, like if I follow these rules more or less, then I have the opportunity to own these things and not be owned by them or then be owned by somebody else, and I'm just a borrower. Like being the borrower of things, where it's like, cool, like I own this great truck, but then again, it's not like I can not make a payment on it and it won't get repoed. Like it's nice owning your own vehicle. Like it's really great. Like with the car, with my first car, I was like, friggin', I can thrash this thing and I can do whatever. And what cool is it doesn't matter because it's mine. Like I didn't keep the best cars because the interior, like it was trashy the whole time. But that was my decision. But still, it was something that I owned that was mine, and that was pretty cool. So it's just this. If it's just kind of like it's worth working towards, and then understanding and as a kid, understanding what it's worth to own something and what it's worth to have ownership and that fulfillment that it brings, and then seeing like things like this where I get the same reaction as everybody else of like, oh my gosh, this is so cool, like I want that one day, like seeing the truck and riding it, be like, dude, I want this one day. But then it's not just that, it's not just like I want this, it's like I want to own something like this one day that brings me to the same thing. It's not just I want to experience it. Experiences are cool, but like the ownership can bring more fulfillment than just the experience, because the experience is more, I guess it puts emotions, but you guys know what I'm saying. It's just like
There's also the other side, which is the lesson learned and from the pain of losing something, breaking something.
Right.
That's not yours.
Huh?
That's not yours.
Well,
It's
when
worse.
it is yours and you worked for it, you saved for it,
It
and
hurts
you
a
did
little
it,
more.
yeah, big time.
And
So that ownership
And
and
some people-
having that skin in the game is a totally different.
it's like
very rare
getting
thing
like
today.
the few accidents I've gotten in my car where it's that like
Yeah,
just it does add a little bit more weight.
yeah.
But and then like car accidents suck, but still, I mean, when it's somebody else's car, how much does it suck when you can just trade it in for another one of somebody else's car?
Cool.
You're amazing.
What?
Both of you guys are.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm just so proud of you guys.
You're a good mama. Good mom. You guys had a good mom.
Good
It's such
mom
an
and a good
awesome
dad.
dad. Man.
It is nice that like through you guys being able to appreciate diligence and hard work and the blessings that have come from that, and being things like the houses, the cars, and the motorcycles, the shop, the property, the land, all this stuff. Like through that and through your guys' adventures of that, that even us as kids that were it's just like you guys timed it perfectly. We're like us as kids,
Everyone's out.
honestly though, there wouldn't have been a perfect time. I mean, if you guys did this when I was 10, I would have been entitled. So it's like you guys are doing it at a time where I'm starting to appreciate money in a different way, and I'm being able to learn from other people's blessings and still be able to strive towards something like that. And obviously, like, I'm not going to design the same house if I can get to that point, but I'm going to design a house that gives me the same emotion that you guys get from this house, which to me, I will spend my life defining what that is.
Yeah.
And that's fine, I might change like 10 times, but I'm human.
Okay, so
On a funny topic, it's funny how people can say like man. I thought about this today. It's totally off topic, but it's hilarious, so I thought I'd share it with Micah. And you guys are here, so.
this is
No,
so
people are like,
funny.
in reference to like human or like you're a man, like God created man. People are like offended by like it being man. It's like so they had to add a who on it. So it's like a hue, the human. So it's like, oh, you're human. It's like, yeah, well, we're originally just man. Not that that's a sexist term, but it's like man. So now because of the hyper offended society of which is today and everybody, you have to add a hue against everything.
Wow.
People can't just say like, well, I'm a man. Like that's the way I am. That's how I was created. So, like you can say that. Like to me, like that's not you taking on the identity of somebody else. It's just,
Right.
but you have to have the hue.
Yeah.
Anyway, just saying. Sorry, I didn't mean to derail, but I kind of did anyway.
Okay, so I have a
That was
question for you
Micah.
because Micah brought something up that was really interesting, and that was about because it refers to you and why I've had a hard time like going. I can't believe I'm gonna live in this house. Like it's so crazy.
Yeah.
This room that we're sitting in is like we've traveled so much around Europe. And this, like, I feel like I'm in Europe, or I feel like I'm in Israel. There's parts of this house that's like straight up
This
Israel.
again feels like we're in Israel.
It does.
Yeah,
It totally does.
Yeah.
It totally feels like Israel. You've been trying to teach me, like, about a man, right? So the whole thing we were talking about before, like, I don't need, do you want this? I don't need this, honey. I don't need this. Honey, do you want a vegetable sink? No, I don't need a vegetable sink. And this has been going back and forth. And so I want to understand more. Like, no, I'm serious because it's a very interesting, and with your sons here, I think it's a really interesting conversation you said it to me, you're like, you don't understand the heart or the mind of a man. Like, so why this? Like, why?
Why not?
Oh, yeah. It's a good reason.
But what
It's the best.
you had said,
None of this is need. There's nothing in this entire property that's need.
oh my gosh, no,
I
nothing.
mean, we talked about that.
No, but about
Well, we
what's
were
it
just
for?
looking
Like
at
you
the
built it
cameras
for
and-
me, right? And I'm like, no, in my head, but I don't need this, right? So, but what does that mean that you as a man have built this for your wife, and that you've been like, do you like this? Do you like this? Do you like this? Like it's super important to you.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
Yes.
that's what makes a man tick.
yeah.
Tell me more. I want to understand that.
You talking about the need versus want, or
No, the man providing for his wife.
yeah, just men do things for their woman.
What does that mean? I don't understand that.
I don't want to define it too narrowly because I think when things are defined
Well, what
very,
about this man?
very narrowly, they become a system or a rule, and even a cage
Right.
and a boundary. And I just think that it can be left at that. Men are designed and created, and it's a good thing to want. But yeah, that's what makes a man. That's what men are supposed to do. supposed to give a, you know. So, but I mean, it's not about, there has to be wisdom involved, you know, and not overextending ourselves, and also learning the wisdom of what to say yes to and what to say no to, because we can say yes or try too hard or step into things that we shouldn't own because we don't have the grace or the capacity or, you know, to do it. Maybe sometimes that's going into debt or, you know, even making commitments that are unhealthy, you know, because we're trying to make somebody else happy and we're finding our fulfillment in that response from that other person. I mean, there was plenty of times during this whole project that it was like, there was some conflict, you know, there was some times where, why are you doing that, you know, and it's hard to push through those times where you don't feel like holding true to what you believe is the right path, you know, but then also allowing room for input, you know, it's just tough. So I'm glad you like it.
Oh my gosh.
I'm glad I like it. But as a team, kind of like, you know, I get it. By the time it's done, I want to do something different.
You had a boss like that.
They are very similar.
Yeah. So, but
A little bit.
yeah, I mean, why not? We have the means. We live below our means. You know. It's a neat
And this
property.
still isn't above our
Something
means.
special.
This is still, we're still gonna live below our means.
Yeah.
I mean, because you pay cash for this.
Yeah. It's special property, you know, I mean, it's something that we can create memories in and we can share with our family, our kids, grandkids, friends, family, guests, and, you know, we can do some cool stuff here. You know, this was a dining room, but it's also kind of a
So
wine room / bar / family board room, right? This
game room.
This room is freaking awesome.
It's that room.
This is gangster in here. So,
With all the cool lighting, the
it's-
dims.
everything's turned up really high right now, but yeah, I don't know. Just felt that. I mean, I think part of the challenge is, especially coming from my background of poverty, and fear can be so deeply embedded. And it can be the root motive of why you save as much as why you spend.
Right.
And on both ends of those extremes and those spectrums, the root of it can be fear. You know, so just like praying, like to be led by love and wisdom instead of fear, and finding that, you know, balance. And then also like getting to a point of accepting something like this.
This is a challenge.
Yeah.
This is
'Cause
what
it's-
you
And wanting to do something different, you know, which is me.
no way.
You got plenty of land to develop
Yeah.
if you want to.
It just wanting to make something special, something unique, something that's got a lot of reveals. It's all about the reveal.
Yeah. This is definitely that.
Yeah. So, and just the experience, the memories. You know, like tonight was the first night we turned the pool lights on. I was like, what? Dude, this place just turned into a freaking club, man. It's insane. So just little things like that, like, oh my gosh, you know. I'm so glad today I talked to the pool guy. I was like, hey, because we're still getting the Wi-Fi and stuff set up. And it's like, is there a way for us to turn the lights? He's like, yeah, you have to manually turn them on, go out to the box and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yes.
So rad. Your
Yeah.
response when you turn them on was, oh man, I wish I had a
Yeah.
video of just that
Just
moment.
getting the lanterns lit, you know,
Yes.
and there's still a few bugs to work out. And,
Yeah.
you know, we got the hot water working yesterday, and you know, but I think the neat thing about it is to be able to embrace it and accept the gift, but then also to hold it loosely,
Yes.
and not let it define us. You know, like this is an amazing experience, and for me, like going, like just it's been such a challenging project. So it's like to actually start to be able to live it a little bit, and, you know, experience it, and then that you're happy, and like Roman's response today when you came over, and just like, oh my god. It's almost like you're hyperventilating. Like, it's like, I don't know quite how to process this place. This is the first time I'm actually, you know. So yeah.
Well, the last time I went, like, I think the covers on the doors on this doors outside, they were still on. Like you couldn't see through them. They still had the thing over them, like, and so because and I think a lot of it was intentional. Like, and like the roof wasn't even on the carport. And the pool, and I had intentionally, like, in a way, just not seen the house for a while.
Yeah, you were
so
tripping.
It's been a minute. It's been a minute since I've seen the development, so it's just like,
what? What is this place?
It's like, I feel like it's one of the nicest, like, probably the nicest house I've ever been in. Definitely, actually, probably, absolutely.
All the contractor, all the people who've been working on it have been like, this has been their most favorite.
Reasonably.
Most beautiful. Like, it's crazy.
It's surprising.
It really is.
It's enormous.
Oh, it's not? I mean, it is to me.
No,
like, these guys.
Yeah,
No, because there's billionaires here. There's billionaires in the area.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they're like, pretty much everything just looks the same, just bigger or whatever. But this is.
So I think the big thing though is like just to embrace the gift and accept it and like own it. You know, but then also to hold it loosely and realize that, like, I guess I think about it, pray about it, and think, okay, Father, this is amazing, like, but I don't know what the future holds, you know. I can't sit here and say, you know, it's just for however long this season is, you know, to just love it and enjoy it and try to be the best governor as possible, you know. And yet, I loved our time in the camper. It was awesome. Like, it was rich. You know, it was wealthy.
Yes.
You know, it was just awesome.
Yes.
And, you know, it was neat.
It's
It's neat to
awesome.
be able to do that also.
Yeah.
It's funny because, like, and you're saying not being defined by it when it's very easy and like social media has a big place to play in that, where it's like, oh, Hans Johnson's that guy with that cool ass pool, right? Like that's.
Did I tell you what your password would be on the Wi-Fi and everything?
Yeah, you want
Check
to?
it.
It should be still set the same. All right, let me
Cool.
check with him.
I think we're done.
But either way, the funny thing is, like, and it doesn't have to be on camera, but people are like you don't want to be defined by something that you own, and people are starting to be defined by things they don't even own.
Dude, that's powerful, Roman.
Yeah, it's funny.
It's so powerful. Okay, so hey, that's it for us for today. Just wanted to invite you in on this very special family conversation. As you heard Hans say, like, this is like day 4 in the house, and you know, we're still, like I said, we've moved about 1/3 of our stuff in the house. We're doing it very slowly, but anyway, I was so blessed hearing my sons talk about what they said, you know, to have Roman and Micah, the kind of wisdom that they carry. I had no idea that they both felt the same way, that they don't want to be seen as rich kids, and I don't know, their perspectives was really, really powerful. I hope you like gleaned something really powerful from that whole conversation. So that's it for us. We might bring you inside again another time throughout this entire journey, but thanks for joining us on this journey.
If this episode was an encouragement to you, go to DaniJohnson.com and share it with your friends now. You never know who else needs to hear it. This has been The Dani Johnson Show. Join us every weekday at 7 a.m. for more insights that will help you get to the life you've always wanted.